In this example, I'm going to show you how to create a user form to be able to edit data. So in this example, you can see I've got a database with 5 records. So I want to create a button that when I click it will show me a menu where I can select one of these names or one of these numbers, and then I can edit this information. And once I click OK, it will automatically edit it. So the first step is also to have something that will initiate the user form. So I'm just going to add a button. I'm going to say new. So the difference between new and record, when you record, you can physically then record a macro. If I say new, it will immediately just show me the code. Then I don't have to stop the macro. So let's just quickly edit the text here. I'm going to call it edit. Okay, so when I click this button, it should edit this information. So let's look at the steps. So step 1, I need to create a user form because I need to see this information. So I'm just going to create the list for this. I'm going to call it list. So when you can also concatenate some of this information to be able to see them all. I'm just going to select that specific one. So obviously we don't have any duplicates. So what I'm going to do now is create a user form. Let's just maximize this. Okay, so I'm going to say insert user form. So this user form in the name, I'm going to keep the name the same. I'm going to say that's edit. So what I want to do is I simply want to put a list box here. I want this list box, which we'll do in the row source, to come from my list. So there we are. And then every time somebody clicks on this, I want that result to go to here. So let's just see, I've renamed some ranges already there. As you can see on top there, it says name, surname, country, and the number. So I'm going to take that to name. So every time somebody clicks on a specific name, it will then go to name. And then obviously we need a button to say continue. Now the reason why I'm going to select the information from this list and then the next user form it will actually show the information is because text boxes does not automatically update. So that's an important principle. If I were to select some of this, yes, it will change my data on this Excel spreadsheet, but it will not update the text box immediately in this form. So I need to create a new form where there's sort of a calculation in between the two of them, and then it will be able to show me the exact information. So let's just go test this one. So this code I want the user form to show. User form 1 show. Okay. So I'm clicking edit. So there's my user form. So as you can see now, every time I click on it, the name will change. Continue does not do anything at this stage. So now I've got the name in there. So what you can do now, and the other thing with user forms as well, is that when you link a text box to a certain cell, then that cell cannot have a formula in, because every time you run the user form, it will override the formula. So I'm just going to do a formula here to say I want to search for Mark in that, and just a normal VLOOKUP. So that will be my surname, and my country will be that. So that's 3, and my number, because my name is in the start, I'm just gonna put the numbers at the end there, and that will just be a final VLOOKUP. So every time that name changes, this will automatically change as well. So it will link from there. So let's go test it. Remember with coding you need to test all the time. So as you can see there, it works perfectly. Okay. So now what we want to do is create a new user form, because the first user form simply selects which data we want to edit. We need a new user form that will actually show me the data that it's currently in, and then according to that data we can then edit it. So I'm going to go back to my coding. I'm going to add a new user form. I'm going to then add a text box and a label to each one, because I want to know what I'm seeing. And we've got 4 fields. so that we can edit in. So the first one will be my name. So the thing you see there is the caption. Then my surname. Then my country. And then the number. Okay, so now we can change that. And then we can just do another button here that says change. So when we click this button, whatever information we've changed should then automatically edit the data for me. Okay, so now we've done that. Let's go back to our database, because if we link it to this 4 fields now, that's going to be a problem, because currently we've got formulas in 3 of them, so it's going to overwrite the formulas. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically say the moment when I go into this, it should copy this information to the next cell. But to be able to do that, you know, the best way to do that is to name your cells. So let's name that one name 1. We name that one surname 1. Country 1. We name that one number 1. The reason why I put this line here is because if I put NO1, it will then go to cell NO1. Let's just go show you that. NO1, it will then automatically go there. So we don't want that. So now I've named them. So now I can link this text box to those ones. So my control source for the first one is name 1. That one is surname 1. That one is country 1. And this one is number 1. Okay, but how do we get the information in there? So what we want to do is, when I click edit and I select something, I need to put a code in the continue to first, well, secondly, actually bring the user form up. But what I also wanted to do is copy this fields to here. So let's go do that. And I can get that code very easily with a recording. So let's go record something. So now it's busy recording. So we want that to say copy. We're going to go there. We want to say paste value. So let's stop that one quickly. Let's just go get the code. So this is what we want the code to look like. So when I click continue, it should then do that. So I went to user form, I just double click on continue and it gave me that. So then it's going to copy that every single time, but then the next step, it should show user form to show. And of course it should just close the previous one. So otherwise the other form will just stay open. So we've added another step, let's go test it. So I'm going to click on edit. So if I click on Ben, now we need Ben's information in there, which is number 1. If I click continue, let's see if that's correct. Yes, it is. So let's just be more smart. Let's put another button in this to say go back. If we selected the wrong one, then what we want is user form 2 to hide and user form 1 to show. So can you see that's how you navigate between user forms. So if I go to edit, I select mark, I go continue, so mark is 5, that's correct. But let's say it's wrong, we go back, and now it's an error. Let's go see what's wrong. So I go to debug mode. So user form 1, show. Why is that not right? Let's go take that out and see what happens. Just going to stop it quickly. So I click on edit, continue, so go back. So go back now, so everything is hidden. So what's the problem here? Let's just run it again to make sure everything's right. So I'm clicking edit. Let's click here on, continue. So if you go back, so I can already see what's the problem. Let's end there and I can show you. So I click on edit, I click on one of them. So can you see what's happening? I'm not closing my previous user form. So when I click go back, it wants to open the user form, but it's already open. So that's a problem. So let's go to continue here. So user form 2, I'm showing. User form 1, I'm hiding. So when I click OK here, it should hide it. So it's the order of my code here. So it's only going to hide the one when I close the other one. Let's go test that again. So I click on edit, click on one of them. So can you see it's gone? So now I can go back. So the order of user forms is very, very important. So if I click Sandra, that should be number 2, South Africa. So there we are. So that's now nice. So now we want to actually edit this information. How do we do this? So now I know that the fields I've got there isn't formulas. So let's just do one. Let's just put a 1 next to all of them. Let's say, so can you see it's already changing there, but change doesn't do anything yet. So here's where the trick comes in. So we've linked this to Sandra. So this is sort of the important one. That's the one we cannot change. You could have linked it to the number or any one you really wanted to. In our example, we're linking it to the name. So this is very important. So if I do a match formula, I say match this value for me in that array, and I'm wanting an exact match. It's going to tell me that that is in 3, which is actually row 3. So that will tell me that this is in B3. So that is where it is. So I'm just going to say there count A. So I'm naming that cell to count A. So if I say change, it should then basically go and copy and paste this into row 3. So let's go see how we can do that. So remember, the best way to get your code is just to do a recording one here first. So what I want us to do is say copy. I want it to go there, say paste value. So that's what I want the code to do. So let's stop that and see how that looks. So now we can basically take that. So if I click on change, it should run that code. But now this is where the difference comes in. So we are selecting this range. So it's I2, but then we're selecting B3. I don't want to select B3. I want to select B, and whatever I've got in range, count A. Because then whatever I select there, we'll go copy and paste it in. So let's go test that. That should work. So I say edit. I want to edit mark. So that is on line 6. Can you see line 6 is correct? So I want to change that to Mark Smith. Mark is actually from Kenya. So let's say change. So can you see? It will then change it. See what we're missing? We're not closing our user form. So let's go back there. We're going to change. So once we're done with all of this, we want user form 2 to be hidden. So let's test it one final time. So I want to change Ben. Say continuous, that is Ben's information. I want to change Ben to number 10. So there we are. It's changing it to 10. So there's different ways of doing it, and there's a lot of variations. It's just important to understand which one you want to change. So that's the most important thing.